guys, welcome back. It is your favorite Gimp with a Limp, and I'm finally back with a little bit more of 1985 Sacred Oil. Definitely love this game. Highly recommend it. And I would suggest that you set this up if you're not going to be able to finish it in like one go or a few days. Set it up in a room where you can leave it going for a little while and not come back to it, because if you're playing anywhere near a bigger scenario, it's going to take you a little while to get her done. All right, so what we did is we were down here last time, and now we're going to focus in up here to the north, because I'm going to try a little bit different of an attack. What I've done in the previous videos, the previous video, I didn't have any air assets with it. So I wanted to kind of show how their assets work. And we're going to do like a basic ground support mission in this one. All right. So this is the very northern tip of the map. We've got some Iraqi units here, some Iranian units along the border. They kind of pushed up against the edge to kind of hold them back. They're in nice rough terrain. There's a little bit of river running along here, but I'm thinking I can swing in here down low with this infantry group and attack them from the side. And because I made the mistake of lining these guys up in a line, if I can force some retreats going on here, I can get some advantageous attacks going on where they don't get overwhelming, where I can kind of use multiple units to focus fire down one of theirs and try to cause some damage. Okay, so what I've pulled in here is one of my MiGs, one of my Iraqi MiGs. You can see it's got stats of 9, 8, and 2, and the 9 is its air-to-air, 8 is its evasion value, and 2 is its ground strike value. So since he's doing a ground support, that's the number we're going to be concerned with, that and his evasion, because he's going to have to avoid a little bit of intrinsic flak that these guys have as well. And he's coming from one of these northern airports up here. I think it's 640 that I'm flying him out of. So just a couple of megahexes away, he's flying over doing a ground support mission against this infantry division right here. Now, you can have up to a maximum of 10 strike squadrons and 10 escort squadrons. You do have to let your opponent know how many of what you're bringing, but you don't have to name what specific mission you're doing, because there are multiple types of air missions you can do, like the Wild Weasel stuff or the Seed stuff, ground strikes, ground supports. Here we're doing specifically a ground support, so we're doing this in support of this attack that the infantry is making. But we could do a ground strike where this air unit would just be targeting that hex itself without a ground unit. And there's specific times where you do that. So at the start of a movement phase, basically, you don't do it in the middle of a unit having its turn. Now that's ground strike. Ground support we do. So we are using this infantry unit. He's pushing across the border and he's making his attack against this Iranian infantry. He's gone into his zone of control, so he has to attack, and he's getting concentric bonuses because these two infantry divisions are adjacent and have their zone of control going against that guy as well. So this is advantageous for the Iraqi forces because they don't have to spread their attack out against multiple of the Iranian divisions. They can focus fire down one as best as possible, get 2 of the concentric bonuses, and now we're adding an airstrike as well to bump up his attack number, because that's ultimately what his strike value gets in a support mission. His strike value gets added to the attack value of the attacking unit. See, by looking at it, his attack value being a 3, this defensive value being a 4, he would be at a 1 to 2 already, and then getting 2 concentric bonuses from it. And instead, with this, as long as the air strike doesn't go bad from the flak, he gets to bump that up to a 5 to 4, which puts him at a 1 to 1 on the ground combat table, and then gets the 2 concentric bonuses. Now, the defending unit is getting, I believe it's a +2 bonus from the terrain chart because he's in rough 2 terrain. So there's a modifier going in his favor for the combat, but we're going to get into that later on after we've resolved this airstrike. Now, normally the air war would be fought prior to this little ground crap going on. The thing of it is the Iranians only have a few air assets, and they don't want to waste them guarding these northern units. These northern units aren't that important, so they're not as concerned, or I'm not as concerned rather, of keeping this area safe, so I'm not worried about wasting the few jets I have for the Iranian forces fighting this off. But normally speaking, you would take and do an air interception table where after the attacking player has announced how many strikers and escorts he has, the defending player can announce up to 10 of his own intercepting aircraft to come after this. And then you do that on the interception table. We don't have to worry about it since the Iranians aren't sending any forces to intercept. So then right after that is done, then you have to deal with the flak that is around the area. Now for us, since we already are at the flak portion of it, we can go to this flak fire table and look at any modifiers that we have that are going to apply. You see that the flak table is divided across A+ down to D as far as the flak ratings are concerned, right? So A is the best, D is the worst. Unfortunately, our infantry forces here both have Bs, the ones that are going to be involved. And you can see that, again, that's the middle letter on both of these forces. They have a range up to 1 hex. So since this hex is the one that's being targeted, that's a range 0. And then this guy is adjacent, so he gets to fire as well since he's 1 hex away. Now down here, flak fire modifiers, these are all the ones that will come into play, whether or not you've got so many squadrons, naval flak, if it's a wild weasel, any of that stuff that is going to apply, electronic counter warfare stuff. For us, we're mainly going to be concerned with this average evasion value. So you have to see the evasion modifiers. Those are over here. And remember, for our aircraft, it is that center number on the aircraft. Our aircraft has an 8, and you will average this number for the air groups, okay? So you can divide them out into air groups to conduct their strikes. This one, we only have a single aircraft to worry about, so his average is going to be whatever his is. For him, that's an 8, which means that is a plus 4 modifier. That's a pretty big modifier on this table. Okay, so after this roll is made, we have to add 4 to it. The odds of them hitting are relatively low, should we say. Now, the cool part though is before you conduct your strike, you still have the opportunity with the aircraft to say, nope, I don't want to do it. I'm gonna back out, right? If you change your mind, you can do it, but you have to do it before the flak fires. So in between that little step, you can say, I don't want to take flak. I'm going to abort and pull some of the aircraft back, or whatever your choice is. We're not going to pull back. We're going to let this go. For him, looking at the Ds, we got to undergo a couple of attacks. And unfortunately for them, they don't even have the possibility to destroy a step. They can only damage a step of aircraft. Okay, so before we kick into the ground combat, we'll go ahead and run our flak attacks against them. So like I said, again, 2 flak attacks at a rating of D with a +4 modifier. So let's roll and see if they're gonna do any damage to them. 8, +4, nope, that is nothing. And second attack, 2 + 4 is going to be 1. Let's see, 2 + 4 is going to be 6, and that is 1 damaged step for the aircraft. Damn, that sucks for him. That's unfortunate. And since I can't find my damage counter right now, I'm just going to throw down one of these ones next to it, and I'll put it back with him when I put him on the airport player aid to signify that he has a damaged step, because on the back of him, he does have that yellow, but that yellow means a step loss, not a damaged step. So he has a damaged step. Get my little yellow bead here ready, because we're almost right there. All right, so now again, we've got to add up our numbers. Again, we've got the 3 plus the 2 from his strike rating, so that gives us a 5. 5 against his defensive 4 is going to be a 1-to-1 attack. So that puts us on this column, but we're getting 2 concentric bonuses because of this unit and this unit being there, right? So they're adjacent, they're thrown in their zones of control. So that gets them up to here. So we're at the 3-to-1 column, which is good. But because of the terrain that the defensive unit is in, he's getting a +2 modifier from the terrain effects chart. And just to show you guys, that's right there on the rough 2. He gets the +2 ground combat modifier. So we're going to be rolling on this column and then applying +2. Remember, for combat, the lower the number, the better. The higher the number, or the lower the number, better for the attacker. The higher the number, the better for the defender. So this is actually the best attack we've been able to pull off with the Iraqis thus far. They got pretty ruffle stomped there in the middle. All right, so let's roll, see if we're gonna get something decent. Come on, roll good, baby. And this white die is kind of crappy. I gotta roll the other one. All right, that's got the little dot on it. You see it's got a 6, so it's actually pretty. Okay, so as we scroll across here at the +2 that they were getting for the combat modifiers all the way to the 3-to-1, and we look at the 6 is going to be no effect. It's going to be no losses. Attacker must stop. That is rather unfortunate, because if they hadn't had that +2 bonus for being in the rough terrain, that actually would have been good for the attackers. The defenders would have been forced to retreat or take some step losses, but that did not work out for them. So pretty much we did all of that and got ourselves a damaged MiG for nothing. And see, I was just looking at it. All right, so don't worry about this aircraft. This attack has been completed. And unfortunately, the other 2 guys are kind of weaker in their attacks. So they have to have aircraft strike values added to them to have enough to even bump them up to a 1-to-1 value. This one can pull off the attack without incurring another penalty, but this one's not going to be able to. If this infantry division has to resort to attacking across to here, not only is he going to get the +2 modifier penalty on the combat table for the rough terrain, but it's another +2 for attacking across that river. So that would be a +4 on whatever he's rolling. So even if he was able to get the 3-to-1, like this guy was able to pull off, it would be on the +4, which makes it even harder for him. Yeah, I really needed this sucker to retreat, because if he had fallen back, could have followed up and then maybe pushed around and attacked him again. It's just so low scoring. There's not a whole lot going. You really have to think out your attacks in this game, how you're going to do it, and then use the right resources and hope everything works out just right, just to kind of force them back a little bit. That's one of the things I like about this game when I talk about like real meaty war games, is the ones where you have to think out the minutia. There's multiple areas all across this map that we're fighting over, but even this little area here is a game in and of itself. The upper middle area combat is a game in and of itself. Same with the other areas across the map. There's just so much going on at the small level that it just makes the huge game seem so much better when you're looking at everything and you realize that these little battles are just playing out all across the map, and you're having to think about, well, do I devote these resources to this? Do I devote these resources to this? Or do I devote the resources towards something off map that's going to get me more points later on in the game but make me weaker on the map? That's why I always keep trying to tell you guys, this is not a game you can just pick up and play. This is a game you experience. Any of the 1985 series, the Deadly Northern Lights, Sacred Oil, Under an Iron Sky, real war game aficionados, you have to be a uber friggin' grognard to really get into this stuff. All right, but we have ran out this attack. We'll go ahead and cut this here, because my big thing is I wanted to show you guys how it would work, adding in a little ground support, and we'll push some more attacks. We've finished up all the middle areas already been run, so we have just the bottom area and this area up here left for any of the combat going on this round. So I'll probably push in the bottom because there's a lot down there and that's an area I could see spending some air resources. And I've got a few jets left up here for the Iraqi forces. And like I said, the Iranians only have, I think, 2 or 3 combat jets that they can use. So it's where are they going to use those? And not even do they want to use them this first turn. I'm thinking I'm not going to use them at all the first turn. Save them for later when I know what areas have taken the most hits or where it'd be most advantageous to push an advantage I might have for the Iranian forces. All right, anyway, that's going to be it for this one. You guys put your comments down below. Let me know what you think. If you have any questions about any aspects of the game, let me know, and I'll try to cover those specifics of the game. You guys take care. I'll see you in the next one.